Preparations are being made. The Empire of Gunriha looks at the humans as a complete threat to their finances, their way of life. The shipping of goods has always been something they were best at, and now it seems as though the humans not only are always on time, regardless of being forcibly delayed, but they refuse to pay the additional fees, going so far as to actually block other humans from coming in, tricking others, supposedly, into making sure they don't show up, and making several of their own small colonies go bankrupt. This is not something they want to deal with. No, not anymore. The comfortable accommodations aboard a human ship, leading to premium VIPs not taking part on any of the Gunriha ships anymore. Instead, they insist on waiting their turn on a human transport. This, along with the loss of shipping that they're getting, means that the loss of transportations of good is down at minimum 18%. Then the losses of transportation of VIPs and high-value individuals, which actually pays more than the cargo itself, easily by double the amount, is down 93%, which means this cuts profits by more than half. The plan is fairly simple. The plan is to capture known human colony worlds and work their way in, snagging a hold of every single human ship that they can capture intact. They will then force the humans away from transport areas, making sure that the customers have no choice but to return. If possible, they would take human ships and turn them into a premium service, bringing back all their lost income, as they will charge twice what the humans are charging. This will bring all their money back, since their shipping and their transportation will be returning. From a strictly business standpoint, this is the true definition of a hostile takeover. However, they're not stupid. The Gonriha realize they cannot do this alone. They make deals with a neighboring species of the insectoids called scabies and another reptilian species known as the herps. They join up as they are also feeling the pressure of the financial burden. There's also the fact that they're going to be able to take human territory, resources, vessels, and everything else they have. They can simply bring back all their portfolios, making sure that they are the ones who are on top. However, again, they're not stupid. It's believed that only one species might be enough to take down the boring humanity species. But holding a territory, that is where things get very, very difficult, not without aids. Not without those that will aid them in this conflict. In the midst of all this, amidst of all the buildup, the collection of materials, the training for specifics, rumors begin to spread along all the races. They can see that multiple species are preparing for an assault. This is only done in preparation for a large-scale war, as certain items are only brought into territory if they're doing large-scale invasion, large-scale exercises, but there's no exercises planned. It seems as though they're stockpiling, and they're going to assault, but the question was, assault who? It only takes a very quick glance at an interstellar map to see where they're going to go. Every single one of these three species shares a border with the humans. There's also the closed-door meetings, those that are done through subordinates, 4, 5, 6 level separation from politicians or royalty, where the Gonriha would talk to other species, trying to bring them on to their side against humanity, but most simply look and say no thank you, as politely as possible. However, it is noted that if they don't take no for an answer the first time, they don't get a second, not without spilling a few fluids on the ground. Eventually, there's a special council meeting of the Galactic Senate. The Gonriha convened everything, was recognized, and began to make a grand speech about bringing the galaxy back into balance. Balance before humanity disrupted everything and threw everything off balance, giving preferential treatment to one species or another, constantly calling out how certain royalty, certain political members were always wait to travel on a human vessel, always ship their goods via humanity, and it was believed that they were getting special treatment or they were getting a special price. This was a way to try and show dissension among them all. After they covered this subject, they changed gears and they started saying how humanity itself, if not contained, would continue to disrupt everything the council had built, would force everyone under their banner, and they could not stand for this, even calling humanity a pestilence that deserved to be purged from the galaxy. Yet, as they kept going, talking about how horrible humanity was, they ended the speech by saying that they were not wanting to simply slaughter every human. No. Instead, they would contain humanity, contain it through subjugation. As the speech finished, all delegates were looking very concerned. And if one was to listen close, they could hear the murmurs of concern spread back and forth as each of the delegates would talk with their own advisors about all this. The chancellor, wanting to keep procedure going, calms the room and comments that if anyone wishes to speak before the human delegate does, this is their time. A few look like they wanted to immediately stand and say something, but as they move, one of the invading species would send a glare, a growl, a snort, or a sneer, any type of threatening gesture towards that representative to tell them to sit the hell down. The three invading species are all known as being quite powerful and a bit aggressive, and now that they've joined together, they are even more so. Only the Vajish actually stood up without hesitation, called for peace, as humanity had actually saved their species from extinction. The Vajish stood there, no longer looking like a starving species, but looked like they had been well rested, well fed, and ready to stand. They spoke about how tirelessly to save their species the humans had been, how humans has raised them back from the brink of total extinction. And as they spoke with all sorts of power and passion about how the humans would stay awake for days, sometimes weeks at a time. They were noted to shove stimulants into their own suits, trying to make sure that they stayed conscious so that they could aid others. And they finished with saying something no other species had done. No one even had the glands to attempt to save a species, a sentient species like themselves that simply asked for help. After this, after the Vajish sat down, one by one, other species stood in defiance. The Gunriha eventually broke procedure and yelled, "These speeches are pointless. According to galactic law, an announcement of hostilities is all that is required here." Everyone paused at that moment because they knew by their own charter this was true. The Gonriha representative was speechless at this point, glaring, but his own advisor stepped in, saying how no other species has a say in what the Gonriha actually do. This is what their species decided, and this is what they're going to do. They claim that humanity's cargo fleet will be crushed unless they surrender. Worlds will be taken, and populations will be subjugated, all in the name of maintaining a status quo that they have so delicately placed. Finishing off their speech by saying, "You shall thank us in the end." The human delegates for this entire time simply sat there, turning to look at each other every once in a while, but not speaking. They were following this procedure. They were not breaking it at all. even as they heard their new enemies say how they have already begun their own fleet movements. And there's no chance of stopping them at all, especially once they get into FTL. Once there, they cannot be communicated with. This is just part of their technology. Everyone knew this. Once the ships took off, you're just not calling them back. Eventually, as the Chancellor was making sure everyone was calming down, the human delegates realized that, thanks to procedure, it's their turn. The human lead delegate stood up, signifying his request to address the council. Once recognized by the Chancellor, the human delegate, a tall, broad man in a pressed suit and a square jaw, with two women on his left in pressed suits, and two other men in the booth with him, both clearly in military dress uniforms, yet two obviously different branches, stand with him. The human delegate turned a little bit, thanked the Chancellor for his ability to speak in front of everyone. Then he said, "Thank you to all the different species for your support. We very much appreciate it, and we are grateful for our friends. Beyond measure, we are grateful. We as humanity know that you are worried about us. You are concerned because we have in fact become friends, almost more than any type of allies or trading partners, but actually friends. So it's normal to worry, but worry not. The enemy fleets have been tracked since before they actually left their home systems. We know where they're merging. We know where they're going to. We know exactly what's going on. The entire enemy fleet is currently heading into human territory where one of humanity's fleets is going to meet them. The fleet, along with the local fleet of that system, the militia, company security, and of course the local population of the system itself that are just going to be waiting for the enemy to try and make planetfall. The enemy fleet will see our resolve, and they will be given one chance to turn around and leave peacefully. Smugly, the new opposing forces, their delegates, simply look at each other, simply seem to grin or move antennae or whatever in almost amusement, which is when one of the reptilian scabies actually stood up very quickly and then said, "If they refuse." Multiple loud bangs are heard throughout the council chamber. Small, controlled explosives that send metal through the air faster than anyone can even see. Most everybody didn't even see the human raise their arms, but there it was, raised arms and bursts of fire. After all the other delegates stop hearing the sounds, they rise up behind their podiums. They're nervous. They're afraid. What the hell had just happened? They look over to the three different species, and all they see are lifeless bodies of all three factions, some of them falling back into their seats, others draped over the side of their own container, and one body simply sliding forward as its own blood becomes lubricant, and the body falls and splats on the ground below. Partially exploded parts from kinetic impacts are easily seen, and yet everyone pauses in complete shock. They then turn towards the humans, all of them still holding their pistols, and each one of the pistols still smoking as the humans hold them perfectly still. Yet they're not aiming at anyone else. They're simply waiting to see if they missed anyone. The lead human delegate spoke up, bringing his voice up as loud as he could so that everyone could hear them, because everyone's ears, or whatever audio receptors they have, was currently ringing. "This is what will happen to their fleets. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a war to fight. We shall return to this council once hostilities have ceased." The humans all walk out, heading towards the exit and obviously going to be heading toward their ships. All of them keeping the pistols ready in hand, but keeping them low just in case. On their way out, as everyone's hearing had started to return, they heard one of the humans in their military gear say the same thing that everyone was thinking. Now, who says politics is boring? Hello, everybody. This is Syntax. Thank you for joining me today on part 4 of this ongoing series. Now, before I go, I need to say that today's winner is Julius Boone. And I also need to send out some special thank yous to the supporters of this channel, and they are SS Demon, Guardian Sage, Cert, MTF Guard, and Brian Kemp. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntext.
Ejecting pilot.